This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the UK's #1 coral selling website, prestigereef.co.uk and reefdork.etsy.com for all your 3D printed aquarium accessory needs. What's up, YouTube? Or should I say, yo, how's it going, guys?
Hello. You can't take that from me as well. You've already took the top spot from me. You can't take the slogan as well.
I stole What's Up YouTube from BRS Ryan because he stopped using it. So, you know, it follows that I should nick this. So today we're going to be talking to a very special guest, Michael Ahrens, of what used to be called Ahrens Aquarium. What's it now? What's it called? Michael Ahrens?
It's now Michael Ahrens Aquarium.
Is it Michael Ahrens Aquarium? Is it really?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. So former YouTuber and now current YouTuber. You're back, basically. So here we go.
I hope so.
Yeah. So we'll be chatting about Michael Ahrens. I can't get comments. There's comments showing on your screen.
No, that's what's like confusing me. There's no comments for once, which means we can't.
Is that because I'm in the way?
No,
it's not showing on mine.
Probably on the right-hand side of the screen, and it's not there. I thought it was just me.
There's a box there, but it's just nothing in it. There.
We'll have to make do without it. I don't know why it's not working. But anyway,
it looks like there's no comment this time.
I've got YouTube open, so I'll be able to see that there. But anyway, look, we've got the legend that is Ahrens Aquarium back on. So we're going to talk about. Yeah, this was your idea because you've been away for 4.5 years. So the idea was what's changed because you've come back and realised that there's quite a lot of stuff going on. So a lot has changed in the last 5 years, right?
Yeah, God, yeah. Massively, like all sorts of stuff, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
we'll get into that. We're not going to do the usual format because we'll just have a chat basically. But
why? I want to know what Ryan's fish of the day is and what the news is.
We've got the news. We got the news. And we'll do. Well, I think you said a minute ago you've prepared fish of the week, and
I have got fish of the week, and I've got coral of the week for once. You know, we got a special guest, so I had to be on top form for once.
Interesting.
I've just set my phone up as well, so I can see the comments on my phone as well.
Yeah,
that's how I'm doing it. I've got everything up here.
It's far more difficult to read them, but
that's why I'm looking. That's why I'm looking down.
Yeah. Okay. But there we go. So we'll just have a chat. So because you've set up a new tank now, a little max spec one, right?
Yeah. So I've got the max spec dice all in one, which is a 45 litre, 12 gallon aquarium.
Very nice.
It. I never thought I would because I was very much like Ryan. I like this being able to point at you two. But I was very much like Ryan, where nanos were just like, no, you know what I mean? None of that. No,
but I'm still like that.
Since having one, honestly, I love it. I've just done a reef update actually, which I'm going to put out after this, and I've just talked about just the simplicity of it. You know, when I had the wife, it still makes me laugh at it. Just the simple things like doing a water change. I'd have to block a day out to maintain the tank. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now I'll come down in the morning. I just do a litre water change every day, which is 7 litres a week, which is about 15% over the week.
Yeah.
And it's just scoop, drop, and away I go. My day's done. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's really good. So just the simplicity of it.
But how the wife was like,
well, if it's that easy, forever.
No, because what will happen is you will outgrow the tank. It won't be enough for you. At the moment, I'm actually considering a nano myself, which
you're not.
I look every so often. I've been watching a lot of scuba diving videos actually recently. I actually sent you the link of the guy, didn't I?
Billy Dillashaw.
Yeah, and there's two things that he shows all the time in there: frogfish and mantis shrimp. and both of those would be suited for a nano for a period of time. And I am tempted. I'm actually looking around the houses where I could put a nano in a sensible position. So
I had a frogfish
years
ago. Freddie, he was called Freddie the frogfish. Boringest thing I've ever had in my life. Honestly, the idea of having a frogfish is great. Setting up a nano with a frogfish and everything. But obviously, it's a, what do they call it? Like a stalker. The way it hunts, it's like one of those where it does nothing. Yeah. Stealth hunter does nothing all day. Does nothing. So then you're spending fortunes on glass shrimp or fish or whatever to feed it, and it's like, what did they say that it's not, it wasn't worth.
Oh.
I think it's like your jellyfish experience, Ryan. You don't get much back from it.
It's one of we can add it to the list of the world's most ungrateful pets, but I think that a mantis shrimp would be cool, and they eat basically everything. But whether they need to have quite deep burrows, so I'm not sure how that would work in a nano tank.
I think it's only like a couple of inches. I saw a guy who had a mantis shrimp tank set up, and it was just like it was the same kind of size as the cade, and it wasn't like a massive deep sound bed, just a load of like gravel and stuff. But mantis shrimp would be cool. That'd be cool.
I think they have sort of character and personality, whereas like cleaner shrimp don't have character and personality.
Not really.
So just because it's the shrimp, don't knock it.
Yeah. No, I'll be up for that. And that's actually what's her face. Next week's guest. Amy does some stuff.
One, doesn't she? Yeah.
She's got one. This is, you want to get big on TikTok. That's what it is.
No. Well, I attempted TikTok, but I'm too old for it, so it's not my thing.
I've just followed you on TikTok today.
Did you? Well, did you notice that I haven't put a video on TikTok probably for like 4 months?
Well, the thing with TikTok, what I like about it is there's no dates. Obviously, you have to really go looking for the date. So it doesn't matter whether you put it out 5 years ago or today. When you're on someone's specific page, it don't really show that. You know what I mean? Okay. I've only just started. I started a TikTok last week, a couple of days ago.
See, I feel like
3 videos on there.
Your personality is probably more suited to TikTok. You're like, pick up the phone, do a video, post it. Whereas I'm like, can't bother to pick up the phone, can't bother to do a video, can't be bothered to post it.
Do you know what? I didn't embrace short form content when it first arrived. I wasn't up for it, but I don't know whether it's because I've had time away or whatever, but like short form content now, I'm gravitating towards it more than actual long form content because it's just so easy, especially with CapCut. Oh my God. I just do a load of filming, put it in a CapCut template, boom, I've got a video. It's dead easy. I love it.
It's totally different, isn't it? CapCut. It's totally different. We were talking to Scottish Reefer, who's in the newsletter today, by the way, and he talked about how you're aiming. Me and Ryan are aiming for people who are looking to set up a fish tank or whatever, and he's just aiming for someone scrolling through Instagram. So they might be looking at cat videos and then whatever. They're not looking for aquarium stuff specifically, and so you can get a bigger audience, I think, that way. But it's just I don't watch short form stuff, so I don't know how to make it good.
Oh well, don't ever get into it. I don't. Have I gone off? Am I still here?
Yeah, you're still here. Yeah.
It keeps glitching on my side, you see. But if you're not into short form content, don't get into it because honestly, TikTok is a dangerous place. I will lose hours on that app. Hours. And I'll probably watch the same cat video rehashed by somebody else over and over again, and I'll be 4 hours deep. And I'm like, what's going on? Where's the sun gone? But no, the short form side of things. Yeah, I only use YouTube if I use YouTube for information to learn. I don't use YouTube for entertainment. I just use it solely to learn. Apart from like, I have found myself recently watching reef updates. Like, thing is, Parker's Reef. I've been watching a lot of his tank tours. I watched one the other day, Sydney Reefer. Oh my God. That if Ryan finally gets his way and I do go bigger, the plan would be to have a full sort of like peninsula like what he's got.
Is that the science guy?
No background.
Oh, I have a feeling that occasionally Mike might freeze during this.
He'll drop out, but that's I think that's the guy with.
We can just finish his sentence and we can say anything.
Just carry on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, that's the he's done an upside down tank, and he's also got some other peninsula tanks, and they look really clean.
I've seen the upside down one because it's one with the lights underneath, isn't it?
Oh, correct.
Yeah, you're back.
That's it's really I haven't seen an update on that, but are the corals growing upside down on that one?
As far as I'm aware,
yeah. The way he's got it set out, it's beautiful. Like that tank there's two tanks that have changed the way I'm thinking about this Nano now. So the Nano originally was supposed to just be a simple tank, just something for my living room, so I could just look at it, not really mess about with it, just enjoy it. So the hardest coral that I had planned was a Euphilia. Nothing harder than that. Everything else would have been zoas, softies, and I just wanted color and movement. That was it. But then I saw, so I saw the Sydney Reefer one. So then I was like, oh, that if I ever upgrade, that's what I want it to look like. And
like the peninsula one, right?
Yeah. Oh God, and it's a DIY job as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's not. Something that some aquarium connections or anything has built. It's a DIY job. It's stunning. Do you know what I mean? It's really lovely. And then another one called Jules. I think he's Jules Aquatics or something on Instagram. And I think he's got a cave like yours behind. And it's, so then as soon as I saw that, I'm like, the stuff you can do to a Nano, changed the game. I was like, right. So then I've upgraded my light now. So I was like, I've got a more powerful light now. And now I'm like, what power it's because I might need a few more. It's game over now.
So it's already started, basically.
I predicted two things when you left. I predicted that you would firstly be back because YouTube is like addictive. And I predicted that you would never stay away from the hobby long term. And the break probably was enjoyable. I bet there was times with a break from both of those you went, I'm glad I don't have to do this anymore. But now that you're back, I know eventually it basically creeps back in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you'll have a fancy camera soon. All the audio stuff you used to do.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the thing as well is like I've nearly already gone down that road. I'm already looking to replace my Sony camera that I used to have and this, that, and the other. And then I'm thinking to myself, the landscape's changed. The world's changed. Like the short form content way of life now is like right across the board. So, the camera, the visuals are not really that much of a thing anymore. Like having that, lovely bokeh in the background, that blurry background and cream crisp visuals. Nobody cares because they're just on the phone. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's really bothered anymore about stuff like that. And they're scrolling that fast nowadays. It's like, I'm probably just going to have two phones. One is my normal everyday phone and another phone as a camera. I've got a phone upstairs that I smashed. I think I'm just going to fix the screen and that will be my YouTube camera. In all honesty, I don't think I'm going to bother with proper thousands of pounds worth of cameras. Unless
so you thinking short form for YouTube as well, like shorts, YouTube shorts?
I've done a few, yeah. But yeah. There's any basically what it is at the moment is it'll be I've got an idea for a video. Then I've got to go and find the camera, get it out, get it on its tripod, get all the microphones and everything wired up and everything. By that time, it's like, squirrel. Do you know what I mean? And it's gone. That video's gone. So now, with the phone, I can just go, start filming. You know what I mean? And the cameras on phones nowadays are great. So
okay.
And
that's all I've ever done. Well. My whole channel was filmed on my phone. I've never had a proper camera. I have a proper camera. I don't know how to use it, so it just gathers dust.
So I mean, it's just the effort that you've got to go into to get the shutter speed right, to get the ISO right, to blah blah blah, and all this lot. And it's like the phone just does it. You know what I mean? Obviously, the audio's not the best, so that's why I've got this little box. I keep this in my pocket. I open this. That goes into the underside of my phone, and I've got one on me here now. But this clips onto me, and then that goes on my phone, and I've got audio, clean audio. It's great. I'm not even actually using this now. I don't even know why it's on there.
Happy days.
So anyway, there you go.
So the tank has been running for a couple of months now. How's it going?
It's brilliant. So, oh yeah, I'm going to give all away my reef update that's coming out later.
That's what I do every week. I tell people, so I never make a video because it feels like there's no point.
But yeah, it's 2 months old now. I think it's like coming up to 2.5 months old actually. And so I've gone down this route, and I didn't even realize it was a thing actually in the reefing hobby until, you know, I really started to look into it again. I've gone down the route of doing to the reef tank of what I did to my pond and focusing more on bacterial filtration rather than mechanical filtration. Because back in the day with the wife and everything, it was all about filter. Obviously, there was no roller filters back then, but you know, it was all about, you know, the filter socks. It was all about the skimmers, the refugiums, you know, the pellet reactors, the carbon reactor. It was just equipment everywhere. But then since setting my pond up, all I've got is a blue food grade barrel from a bakery around the corner. Chopped the top off, and I just filled it with bio balls, the plastic ones, and sponges. And then obviously the pond itself is just loaded with Yorkshire stone and gravel. And it's coming up to its 3rd summer now, and it wants for nothing. I never do anything to it. The water's crystal clear. It's gin clear. Scoop some water out of the glass. It's gin clear. It's a pond. You know, it's subject to winter, all the leaves and everything going in it, and it just stays clear all year round. So I adopted that mentality for the Nano, where the focus was biological filtration, plenty of biomedia, you know, probably more than I ever need. And, you know, just I started with live sand as well this time. Didn't really need to, if I'm honest with you, but I just wanted a bit of diversification from the outset when it comes to bacteria. So I started off with Brightwell's Microbacter Star XLM and live sand. And then I've been just every now, when I do a water change or whatever, I'll top up with Microbacter 7. So I'm really sort of like focused on that. And I didn't have a dirty stage really.
Did you use live rock?
No, I used a
dry rock
aquascape. Do you know those pre-made?
Yeah.
Do you remember Aquaroche back in the day?
Yeah, okay.
That was like one of the first ones on it. Yeah, this one's called Art Reef Rock, ART Reef Rock. Okay. So it's like all pre-built and it goes together like Lego. It's great.
I'm amazed that you haven't had a dirty stage, and the reason for that is because the Microbacter 7 is a bottle of bacteria, and then the live sand is not actually live sand from the ocean. That's just sand.
It's just Microbacter 7 in the back.
Yeah. You're still having the same issue with regards to like a very sterile environment. And obviously I sent you corals the other day. Now you bought corals. And I thought to myself, as soon as these go in, something is going to just explode in that tank. And it still hasn't, has it?
It has. I didn't finish.
Okay.
It came like month 2. So,
okay.
So about a week or 2 ago, I had a massive, so let me make sure I say this right, diatom. It's not diatom, that's the one in it, because I always say dinos, and it's not dinos, diatom. I had a massive diatom bloom, like literally it looked like the tank was rusty. Yeah. And I think it lasted a week. And then now I've got a few little specks here and there. Didn't do anything, didn't change anything. It just burnt itself out. And I also, I was a little bit out of balance with my nitrates and phosphates. So my phosphates were at 0.26. My nitrates were at 4. So I started to get a bit of hair algae come through. But I've balanced those now. So now I'm having an opposite issue now where it's a bit too low. So my nitrates are now at 2 and my phosphates are 0.03. So they're a little bit too low now. So
there's some acros in there.
Well, I think was it the last live stream that he was talking about it, and it's like what was it? It's like cracking it. It's like you just don't. You just need them. You want them. You know they're gonna just absolutely ruin your life. You know they're just gonna just cause you absolute chaos. But you just have to have them. But no, it's one of those now where the water changes. I sort of got this in my head now that the water changes at the moment are keeping the alkalinity and calcium and magnesium balanced. They're all at the right levels. They're fine. But because I'm doing so many, it's bringing the nutrients down. So I've got to now work out how much is not too much food, because obviously it's only a small box, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I've got to now. So now I've got everything worked out. It's just the food now to bring the food level up, but not go too high with it.
And it's got to be really fine adjustments, because like even like 20% extra would make a big difference potentially, wouldn't it? Such a small tank.
Yeah. Do you know when you see people say like, you know, once a month check your phosphates and see if they've changed? You know what I mean? And then, you know, you only really need to check your phosphates 12 times a year. With that, you know, I can change my phosphate level in a couple of days. You know, if I get a bit too giddy with a flake food, for example. Do you know what I mean? So they're a different beast. And I don't know if it was me and you who spoke about this, Ryan, about nanos and beginners. I don't think they're beginner friendly. Do you know, like the pitch, there's beginner tanks. I really don't think they're beginner friendly. Not because like they're not easy to run. They are. But the thing the main sort of like hurdle for a beginner is excitement. Yeah, I mean, it's that excitement factor. Nobody can get past it. There is nobody that has their very first tank can beat that. You know what I mean? There's no way. It doesn't matter if you're 16 or 60. It doesn't matter if you've got a tenner in the bank or you're a multi-millionaire. You will all act the same on your first aquarium. You will want that coral way too early. You won't sit with your tank lights off for a month to allow everything, all the good guys to move in before the bad guys. Do you know what I mean? All that lot. It just doesn't happen. So the nano tank will punish you. You will get slapped around the ear quickly.
I think the main beginner friendly side of them is the cost, though, because the cost for the hobby is prohibitive for a lot of people with bigger tanks these days. So that's the other, that was why. See, I wouldn't set up another tank, as in another big tank. I already have too many big tanks. But I just thought, oh, a narrow tank is not that expensive to run. It won't be that expensive to and to have that shrimp in it would be interesting. I wonder though if I just have, you know, how that multiple tank syndrome that you have, Alex, where you just keep getting more and more tanks. I probably would hate it after a week.
2 is enough. 2 is enough.
I got 3, 4 technically, including the quarantine system upstairs. So 4 is maybe 5 is probably too much.
But this is your full-time job, to be fair. So
that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy the hobby in the same way other people enjoy it anymore, because it's my full-time job.
But what I mean though is, like, for me, if I'm out at work all day long, the last thing I want to do is 4 water changes. Whereas if you're at work, that's your job. So
yeah, I'll give you that. It's interesting.
Go on.
Sorry. Go on. I was gonna say it's interesting because a minute ago you said that there were no what did you say? The reef mats didn't exist 5 years ago. And that sort of like shocked me, because I was like, wait a minute, like they are that new then?
There was one. It was like, was it an Excel or is that what?
Oh, the Innovitech one. Yeah. I had one of them.
That one. That was the first one as far as I remember. And it was like, was it just like one guy or something doing it? There was that one. But that was it. And now since I've come back, it's like every brand has got one. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You can even the off-brand ones have got one. You know, everybody's got one now. So I think I think the biggest thing for me is when I went to the Aqua show last year.
Yeah.
That was my first sort of like reintroduction to the hobby. I was on the fence of whether to go. I think it was you, Ryan, that told me about it.
Yeah, I told you to come. I was like, you have to come. It would be amazing. And you didn't tell me you were going to be there. And all of a sudden, I was obviously like serving and stuff. And then you were just there. I was like, no, I'm too busy. I want to come talk to you.
No, that was the reason why I did what I did, is because obviously I'm a lot better mentally now, but I'm a lot better now in comparison to then. Just like time's the best healer, isn't it? So then I was still a little bit fragile mentally, and it was always nagging at me, you know, like at the back of my head, get another tank. Do you know what I mean? But like I sort of associated like my mental sort of like breakdown, so to speak. I subconsciously associated it with the hobby. Because it was like all I ever did was fish tank stuff. If I wasn't in the house messing with a fish tank, I was at a fish shop. If I wasn't at a fish shop, I was at another reefer's house. If I wasn't at another reefer's house, I was at a different fish shop. Do you know what I mean? Everything was fish for 5-10 years or whatever. So I think I just subconsciously associated fish with the mental side, but I was poorly way before then, years before then. But hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? You know what I mean? So I didn't realize, when you look back and I think, oh yeah, you know what I mean? You've got to look at pictures of me back where I look rough. God knows what it was like inside there. But yeah, so I wanted to come, but then at the same time, I was a little bit like, ooh, do you know what I mean? Because I wrongly associated the hobby with my mental illness. And then when I got there, and I turned up obviously late, I turned up very close to the end. And I just sort of like, I didn't even tell anybody who was coming. I just paid to get in. I didn't ask for a free ticket or anything. Do you know who I am? I'm Aaron's Aquarium, can have a free ticket. Didn't play that game. Just came down and I just mooched about, and just the reception that I got from everybody, you know, in the show, just all of the people that were coming up to me who I've never met before. Jay's Real Reef, actually, I've just seen him. I think he was the first one actually to grip me when I walked in, him and another guy. And Jay's Real Reef was stood there, and I remember this clearly now. He had his little dongle, his phone gimbal, on his gimbal, and he was mic'd up. He had and obviously as well, like all of the microphones and everything that are out now, like the one I've just showed you. Yeah. There was only the Rode one when I was about last. And now DJI have got one and blah blah blah. So he's got all of this gear just in one hand, and I thought, that's crazy. You know, back in the day, I'd have had to have a backpack with all of my stuff, and he's walking around with the studio in his hand. So I thought that was cool. And then so I had a good chat with him, and then obviously mooched about, and I saw loads of people. Saw T from T's Reef. He had his own little stand there. Yeah. Obviously saw both of you guys there as well. And it was such a good experience, and I walked out of there with a smile on my face, dead happy, like really enjoyed myself. And I just thought, do you know what, I've missed this. You know what I mean? I really have. So the rest is history then. That was it. I told my missus I want another tank, and needless to say, she wasn't happy.
Well,
go on.
No, I'll let you go first.
No, go on.
I was only going to say that we, if you enjoyed that show, there is like sort of very, very basic plan for Florida next year, potentially. Alex is like, no, my wife listens. So, a very, very basic plan that some of the YouTubers, they went this year, and there's a possibility they might be going next year. So I will probably go along with that. So you never know. And you remember we met, well, we met before, but Macna was great, wasn't it, in 2018? So it was just great to have everyone there, and everyone's in a good mood, and all the like the fish and all the people. It's just great. So
do you remember how crazy it was? Like, say for example, we was at one side of the room and I needed the toilet, and the toilet was on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
It took, this is no lie, this was for both of us, it took us probably about 2 hours to travel across the room. Do you know what I mean? Just because there were so many mint people there.
Yeah.
It was such a good experience because it wasn't just the UK, it was everywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was the entire people from Europe, all over Europe were there. There was Germans and everything else was there. There was obviously full of Americans, loads of English guys. You know, I was there with Woody's Reef and I was there with Paul, Reef Community Worldwide. It was great. Just absolutely loved it. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had when it comes to like the aquarium hobby. And then also as well, it was in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
So that place is bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers. And I got to do something silly like go out to the Nevada desert and ride a quad bike around with DC Reefer. It's like, do you know what I mean? The life I had, do you know what I mean? And I don't know how I could ever think that was negative. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Just like I said, you know, back then my brain didn't work the way I wanted it to. So, you know, I've been working hard to make it so that it sees the positives instead of negative. But this is the big test because YouTube, obviously, as you guys know, is you could get 1,000 great comments on a video. And there'll be one shitty comment, and you just hone in on it. And then you're moody for the rest of the day. Do you know what I mean? That's something I really need to not do. Do you know what I mean? That's something that I need to focus on.
Do what I do. Think of a cleverly scripted, sarcastic reply, and then pin the comment to the top, so to prove to people that you just don't care.
Yeah, the way to do it to prove you don't care is delete it.
No.
Do you know what?
Because if you're pinning it, you do care. Just delete it and move on.
Yeah. Well, do you know, that's one of the things that I've really thought about is, you know, it was one of those where in the past it was like, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion and blah, blah, blah. And no, you're not.
Completely.
This is a dictatorship on my channel. Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's what I say goes. It's my
your
platform.
If they want to post their
if
own
I don't like
comments,
something, it's gone.
If they want to post that comment, it's a free country, it's a free world. You can go and post it somewhere else, just not on mine. Because otherwise, when you open the YouTube Studio app, the last comment that you haven't liked or replied to is right at the top. So every time you open it, it will sit there. So just delete it straight away. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. So don't do what Ryan does.
I like fuels me. I'm like, what is broken with these people that they feel the need to send me something like that's to tell me I'm an idiot, if you see what I mean. I can't ever imagine me sitting in my living room watching a video of someone else going, I know what, I feel the desire to write something to this person right now, which is negative. So I almost pity the people.
There's an expression that suits this situation perfectly. It's never wrestle with a pig in mud. You'll both get dirty and the pig will enjoy it.
Well,
and that's what you do.
I like some of my videos.
Hold on, I've got some space here. That's going on. That's going on me there. I'm gonna tattoo that there.
But we all deal with things differently. I every so often I'll go back to the video and there's like 300 comments from other people, all on that person's thing. So, but like I said, we deal with things differently. I have an incredibly thick skin.
It's so it doesn't matter. But it's so funny because I watch other channels, even like big channels with like 500,000 subscribers. They feel the exact same way, and I see sometimes every now and then, like a camera channel will make a video about just like their YouTube channel, or whatever, and they'll comment on stuff like that, and they have the exact same thoughts as everybody else who does it. So it doesn't matter if you've been doing it 10 years, if you get 1 million comments, you know, per year, or whatever, or if you get 100 comments. It's the same across the board. It's funny, but the thing that refreshes you is that it is 99.99% of the comments are positive and happy, and it's brilliant. So actually, when you take time, because you can get a bit blasé about it, but when you take time to look through and just look at the nice stuff, and I'd pull them up, I can't. The software won't let me today. But there's already been stuff about you, Michael, saying that you were the reason that people got into the hobby all this sort of time. You used to love brew time, all that sort of thing. So just reading every now and then, because you take it for granted, but sometimes just look at the nice comments because people care.
I think that was the thing as well. Like when I used to do the Friday night live stream, I used to look, that was like the highlight of my day. Sometimes it wasn't, you know, it was always great when I switched it on and it started going, but loads of times I'd just be like, I don't want to today. Do you know what I mean? I just want to have a kebab and go to bed.
Yeah.
But then once it started, it was great. And I think that was like that community aspect of YouTube. I used to love, you know, we had there was like a crew of people, you know, on the live stream.
Gao. I remember Gao.
Yeah, good old Gao. Still messages me now. He's got a new tank. Gao. He's got a brand new, massive, huge tank, and he's got no fish shops in where he lives. So every time he wants something, he's got to travel over here because he lives in the Isle of Man. That's it, the Isle of Man. So
cool.
Yeah, no fish shops over there. And then also as well, back on the subject. So as I've said before, I've still got it. I've still got this glass by Aaron's Aquarium Pepsi glass. This was the famous glass from the live streams. And you remember, I used to always try my best to get Pepsi to sponsor me. I'm going to try that again. Get Pepsi to sponsor me. We pushed that one hard. I think somebody even actually emailed Pepsi and said, sponsor this guy. They did reply, but he was like, oh, no, we're too busy.
Not a chance.
Jay's Real Reef always wants to be sponsored by Yorkshire Tea.
Oh, Yorkshire. Hey, good choice, mate.
Yeah.
I've become a massive coffee drinker, me though, recently.
Dangerous.
Massive coffee drinker. Oh, well, the thing is I found out that coffee can actually help with ADHD. So I got diagnosed with ADHD while I was away, and I've not been medicated. I'm a bit on the fence. I want to try it, but I don't. Do you know what I mean? I want to know what it'll do. So I'm on a waiting list. I think I'm on a 7-month or something waiting list for the medication. So having ADHD, you go down rabbit holes. Am I still on? Have I gone? Am I here?
Yes, you're there.
Yeah, no, he's still in.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you glitched out again. But yeah, when you've got ADHD, I think that's why YouTube was so great for me, because I'd hyper focus on topics and I'd learn. Do you know what I mean? I'd learn loads. But like with the ADHD side of things is I went down a rabbit hole and found out that coffee's because it's a stimulant. ADHD medication is stimulant medication. I started drinking coffee. Oh, mate, the level of clarity I had on some days. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
he's gone again.
Well, you're a big coffee drinker, aren't you, Ryan?
Yes. I wonder, Mike, if the reason you keep sort of like pausing is because you're trying to watch the video while being on the live stream. You're also trying to stream the video at the same time. And I know you shouldn't do that. Or maybe your missus is watching Netflix. But that might be the reason that it keeps like cutting out.
She's not in. That's the reason why I'm on this live stream. Right. I've switched because I want to see the chat, you see. I've not actually been paying attention to the chat, and I should have done, really. That was one of the main things that I wanted to do today is pay attention. I've not even said hello to anyone or anything today.
But don't worry, we don't say hello either.
I switched it over to data.
But so it literally was the Aqua show that got you back into it. If that had not gone, if you'd gone in and not had a good day, would you not have got back into the hobby?
If I'd not had a good day, no, I think I would have still, but it wouldn't. I would have still had a tank, but I wouldn't have been on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? I wanted a tank. Do you know what I mean? That's why I've always wanted a pond. So, the pond I never obviously put on YouTube or any social media. It was just my pond. Do you know what I mean?
No one cares about ponds.
Oh, you'd be surprised. It's bigger than reefing.
No, I know. Sorry, I'll re-clarify. We don't care about ponds.
Yeah, no one here cares.
But yeah, so, and then I would have done the same with the reef tank. I would have had one because I love them. You know what I mean? I do. And setting it up, the reason why I don't like reef tanks is when they just cause me headache. And I know they do. They always will at some point. It won't run perfect all the time. But if I can set it up in a way that it will, in essence, run itself to a point, that's the goal. Do you know what I mean? So same if I ever go bigger, I'd need to work out a way to make it quite self-sufficient. whether that's keeping stock levels down or whether that's having all of the bells and whistles like GHLs and all that lot. Do you know what I mean? But one thing that I'm definitely not doing this time around is spending my money on this, on YouTube, on the hobby, because it's so expensive. So I've got to become an absolute A1 YouTuber again, so that YouTube starts paying me again and I can buy stuff. Because at the moment, like this is on topic. This is changed. The price of things. Oh my God. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, I went to the other day for a small coral garden. It was the first like thing I bought for this tank. And when I was about, you could buy like a small coral garden like that with, you know, it'd already have like a Kenya tree attached to it, some various zoas, wouldn't have been high-end zoas, but various zoas. And it'd be a decent sized coral garden, not just a zoa garden. And it'd be 40 quid. Do you know what I mean? If you just got a little zoa disc with various different zoas, but it was just thingy, 10, 20 quid. No, 20 quid. Do you know what I mean? And then so I got one and I didn't even ask the price. And then when I went to the till, I was like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, what? How much? Do you know what I mean?
How much was it?
I think the coral garden, I think it was 60 quid. Do you know what I mean? 60 quid for just a small bunch of stuff. You say okay because you're used to it. I'm not.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, and then what was the other thing? Oh, this was another one, and this is on the other side of the scale. Kung Pao Montipora, so the Montipora palawensis, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, something like
that was, I got one of those from, I forget the name of this. I think it might have been Sea Store. I don't know. It's in Sheffield way, over there, Mansfield, Sheffield, something like that. And they had a display tank and they had a massive Kung Pao in there. And Kung Pao was not really a thing here. So it was a really sort of like collector's piece. So I got a piece off them and it cost me a fortune. And like, I think it's like 100 quid for a tiniest little frag. And now Paloensis and even Kung Pao, it's rife. You know, it's like 20 quid, 30 quid a frag. I'm like, wow, that's all right. What else did I get? The Raja Rampage as well. Paid a fortune for that when that came over. I got one the other day, I think, for 40 quid. It's like crazy. But then on the other side, it's like Achilles tangs. What's happened there? An Achilles tang is more expensive than a gem tang. What?
What was the, let's go through a few fish. What do you last remember like a yellow tang being? This is, I went for an easy one.
So a yellow tang was about £40. Near when I finished, I think they'd stopped shipping when I finished, and what's it called? Young Marine Life had the very first tank bred ones. So I was actually at De Jong and I saw them, and then I got one. I got a tank bred one, but I think that's about 100 quid, or it might have been a bit more for that. Yeah. But then, what are they now?
I actually don't know what they are now, but
I've just looked. So Abyss, they're on Abyss. It said they're out of stock. It says last time they were in stock, and this is a full size one. This is a wild one, 400 quid. So I don't know.
That's what I think they fluctuated over the last few years. When the ban first happened, they went up to like £400, and then I'm sure they're like 250, 300 now.
That
2 to 3 was what I was thinking. That kind of level for a small.
Yeah, I think about 250. Yeah.
And which is the same price as a gem tank. Sometimes I've seen small gem tanks go for 300.
Yeah. So a gem tank was £1,000 plus.
Yeah.
So a gem tank was £1,000 plus. An Achilles tank was anything from 250 to 500, depending on its size.
Yeah.
It's bonkers, you know what I mean? And then, so what else is it? Something else like, obviously, like fish.
Chromis shocked me the other day. Used to get they used to be like 5 quid. They're now like 16, I think, or something. Remember, I don't go to fish shops all the time. So but I'm sure it was something like that. And I was like, these used to be like a beginner fish that people put in. like for just because they weren't worried, and now they're like they're the same price as some of the more expensive fish at the time.
I tell you what, though, dry goods don't seem to have changed much, as in like fish foods, and also equipment doesn't seem to have changed too much. You know what I mean? They don't seem to have gone up with inflation. Like, well, fish seem to have gone up with inflation and created their own couple of inflations on top of inflation.
I think that's what I think it is. I think there's the price of, I've done before. I did a comparison of the MP40, and they're really expensive now. But actually, when you look back over 10 years, it's just gone up with inflation almost exactly. Whereas fish and corals, they're taking them in. You know, they're a different story.
Yeah. I think like with things like the MP40s and stuff, they've always been that higher level price anyway, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter whether it was 10 years ago or today, they've always just been that at that level of price where you think to yourself, you know what I mean? You know, everybody says they're great, but I just like, I feel peer pressured that I really should have one, but I can't.
Do I want 2 MP40s or do I want a holiday with the family? You know?
Yeah, true.
And a J-Bo or a J-Con.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's the thing. And I even got myself an AI Nero this time around, just because it suited the tank. You know what I mean? So
I don't like the blue blade. The blue blade puts me off. If it was black, fine, but it's blue. And it just looks weird for me.
Yeah, I understand why they've done it with the branding and stuff, but mine's on my back glass, so it's black. Yeah. So if it had a black blade, it would not be there. I just wouldn't even see it. It'd be perfect. It just gives the perfect aesthetic. That's my biggest complaint about it, but it just works in the scenario that I've got it in. So, do you know what I mean? And I like the apps. The app's not too bad as well, you know. So that's all right. But yeah, no, it's really sort of like blew my mind. I went into Kraken Corals. Steve Cahill at Kraken Corals. He's like my Jedi. I'm his Padawan to his Jedi. I'm his apprentice, because when I first got into the hobby, he was like the guy who's just sort of like held my hand. And he's been at multiple different shops over the years, and now he's at Kraken Corals. So I went up there when I started my tank, and he was like, right, sort me out, Steve, right, what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. You know, I've got all my bits and bobs from Kraken. So I'm glad that experience is still the same. You know what I mean? Going to the shops, and that was a big thing where you go in and I spend an hour when I'm only wanting food. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just chatting. That's great. I'm glad that's not changed. I'm glad to be doing it again, to be honest. I really am.
You can actually tell just from you talking about it. Like no one gets this excited talking about something that they don't absolutely love. You're also very lucky because you have loads of shops in your area. Whereas like there's basically I even thought today, I looked today, for me to go to Moss End, it's like an hour and a half. And that's like the closest really, really like exceptional shop. There's good shops and then there's like exceptional shops. And that's, I have to drive an hour and a half to go. And I considered it and I thought, but what if I get there and there's nothing I want? I've just driven 3 hours for do you see what I mean? But all of like the smaller ones around here, they just sort of slowly evaporated. So
honestly, Manchester is an epicenter. It really is. It's like, and like you said, when it comes to exceptional shops, you know, they are that pretty much. You know, like you said, there's a few good ones, but the majority are exceptional shops. Like, you know, like you said, you just mentioned the Abyss. You know, the Abyss is, for me, the Abyss is like Tesco, if you know what I mean. It's brilliant. It's, you know, it's got, if you go in, you're pretty much guaranteed you're going to get what you want.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have that fish shop soul, if you know what I mean. You don't go in there to have that fish shop environment. It's more just go in, buy what you want, get out. And that's obviously what they want. They don't want you hanging around. They want people in help. Yeah, that's what every shop wants, isn't it? But then you've got like the rest of them, like say, for example, Kraken Corals. Kraken Corals is a similar situation for me where it's a 35-minute drive. But I know when I get there, I'm not going to come out empty-handed. There's going to be something. Do you know what I mean? Something there for me. And then we've just had, well, I assume we've just had one open up I've not been around, but iReef
that
in
is
Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's 10 minutes away from a
Oh
house.
God, you're like living the dream.
Honestly, so like you think of when you see these shops on social media, because obviously you're not up here, they really are a true depiction of what they are on social media. You know what I mean? It's not like, like clever camera angles and stuff. They're really good. Do you know what I mean? When you go into them. So for me, I'm spoiled. And I think that's part of the reason why I ended up coming back, because it's so easy for me. There's no barriers, there's no hurdles for me to get what I want. If I want some water, it's 10 minutes down the road. I don't make my own water anymore just because it's easier to go get it. You know what I mean? I've only got a small tank, 25 litres lasts me a month. You know what I mean? For water changing. And RO water, I've still got the same RO water container that I did when I started. So
I reckon 25 litres is probably my daily evaporation across all of my tanks. At least 25 litres, probably.
I'm 2.5 months in and I've probably still got about 12 litres in the barrel. I have a lid though. So that's part of the reason why that's part of the reason why I upgraded the light as well, because the lid takes around about 50 par away. So I've got a more powerful lid. I can still have the the right level of par. And
what if this isn't taken away from your reef update? What light have you got?
The MaxSpect Jump MJ290.
Yeah, okay.
MaxSpect need to think of better names. They make brilliant products, but they crap with the names.
There's a lot of
so I just
call that.
I just call it the Jump 290. Me, I don't go MaxSpect Jump because it's the MJ. No, the MaxSpect Jump MJ. I think and
MJ presumably stands for MaxSpect Jump. So
MaxSpect Jump, exactly. Yeah, and then I think you've also got an L before it, maybe, or is that the smaller one? But L290. Convoluted, so I just say MaxSpect 290.
It sounds like, because you were big on equipment before. That's one of the things you're doing differently now. Just simplicity, basically.
Yes. So I just, if it works, it works. One thing that I'm not getting caught up in as well is when I was previously, I was a YouTuber first and I was an aquarist second. Do you know what I mean? I was always focused on that next video. Joe, I need to get that next video out. So I was always messing about with my tanks, changing this, faffing with that, doing this, doing that. You know what I mean? I flipped the script this time. If I've not got any content to make, I'm not making it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to force anything. The only reason the tank has changed now is because my approach. Oh, I'm still here. Yep. My approach has changed. It's not my phone then. Yeah, it's not. It just freezes up on my side. You see. My approach has changed to it, and also as well, you find yourself when you're a YouTuber, you get caught up in allegiances. You don't realize you're doing it, but you do. You get caught up in.
What do you mean, like
products like allegiances to products? You know what I mean, to brands. You might find yourself like caught up in their beef. Like one company's got beef with another company, and then you're in the middle. So then you've got to side with with one or the other as a YouTuber. Because if you start saying, John Smith's brand's great, but also Smith John's brand's great, and they're like, no, we don't like that, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? You've got to pick one. None of that this time.
Have you ever had that, Ryan?
What, where different
companies, because I've never had that. That's interesting.
Look, the industry can be a funny place. I think we know that. But I wouldn't say that like a brand like, for example, Red Sea would have an issue with me having a water thing. Yeah. It's more it's not like that sort of level. But it
depends on the relationship that you've had with them. Like, say, for example, if they've turned around and said, right, here you go, here's a tank, here's the lights, here's the deluxe package, whatever Red Sea's got at the moment, where you get everything, blah, blah, blah. And then you whip the lights off and put a set of MaxSpect lights over it. They're going to be fuming. Which, if the agreement was to use all of their gear, then fair enough, you're taking the mick. But at the same time, if you haven't agreed, that's the stuff, and they get fuming, it's like, hold on a minute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's not really that. It's not really that side of things. It's more on the, how do I explain it? It's more just sort of like personal. On the personal side of things, people can get a bit pissy when you use, Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Don't worry, this is not a family-friendly
vibration. When you're using sort of like certain products, and some companies may feel that they have a right to you, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, okay.
no,
Yeah.
none of that anymore. It's like, if I want to use a product, I'm using the product. You know what I mean? If I don't want to use a product, I don't want to use a product. You know what I mean? If somebody wants to give me something for free and I want it, I'll take it. If I don't want it, I won't take it. You know what I mean? It's one of those, the perks of being a YouTuber, isn't it? Is you do get stuff for free. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to feel a little bit guilty about it. You know, ooh, I got something for free. I don't care now. Somebody gives me something.
Did that ever become a burden for you though? Because getting free stuff sounds amazing, doesn't it? And at first it is, but do you ever like just think, oh God, I got to make a review of this and I don't really want it and I got to change it? Or
I think for me is I had a difficulty saying no. And when the difficulty saying not so much, it's just because I felt rude. You know, like, somebody's contacts with me and I might have a good relationship with, I had a good relationship with everybody, do you know what I mean? Because I'm not like a thingy person, but I had the difficulty saying no. And then what happens then is when you say yes to everybody, then you have that situation, do you know what I mean? Where, they're our competitor and stuff. And then being nice actually goes against you. Do you know what I mean? In a way, because it's like, so now I have to be strong and say, no, sorry, no, thank you. In the politest way, no, thank you. Because like I said, I was a YouTuber first and I was an Aquarium second. Yeah. And I definitely did get caught up in the free stuff thing. I think
you were someone where you wanted to keep putting out new content, so you'd buy a fish this week, or you'd get this and put them together and just to see what, like, you see what I mean? It was like when you feel that pressure to make new content, you're doing things that you wouldn't necessarily do if you weren't making content.
Exactly.
So yeah, I've been there myself, with regards to buying fish. So I've got a new thing to show on the channel. But eventually later on you start to go, it doesn't matter that much. Like,
it depends on how creative you are, isn't it? It's like you can get stuck in a rut when it comes to, like, with the YouTube and stuff. You can get stuck in a rut of doing the easy things. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And when it comes to, all right, to make another video, I can just go and buy another fish. I can just go and buy another coral, and it's quick fix. I've got another video. You have to be a little bit more creative to be able to get that next video out if you haven't got anything new. Do you know what I mean? So that's where I've got to go this time around, and just do it that way and not mess about. You know what I mean? That's where the short form content comes in, because it's dead easy to just you'd be surprised with stuff that does well on things like TikTok and Instagram. I was talking to Yorkshire Reefer actually, I think it was yesterday, about this, and obviously he is the king of short form at the moment in our demographic. At
the moment, that sounds like
we've had this conversation. Well, he's coming for me actually, in the long form anyway. But when it comes down to it, he's like obviously the king of short form, and the stuff he creates is so entertaining. But we had this conversation because he did a video where he was sort of like singing to the Lava Chicken song, the Jack Black Lava Chicken. Honestly, it's a really creative video that he's done. The camera angles, everything that he's done, so much fun to watch. And it got, let's say, 100,000 views. And then he's done a video of him simply cleaning the glass on his aquarium with a flipper. Yeah. And he's let the algae build up a bit. And that's done something like double the amount of views. And it took him 2 minutes to film. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it makes no sense sometimes. Like, you can put hours and hours and hours into content and it does all right. And then you can put 5 minutes into something and it blows up. It's mad. So that's where sort of the short form comes in, because you can put content out that doesn't really need loads and it will be watched. Do you know what I mean? Maybe. So yeah, it's good.
So I've got a few other things that I wanted to go over, but what I want to do, because we're going to have some structure to this, not a massive amount, but I'm going to stop just quickly to do member questions, because there is one member question. It's from Tom Bish Bosh, And I don't know if you both will have done this. I'm pretty sure, Michael, you have. Evening all. Nice to see you back, Michael. I wanted to get opinions on moving fish tanks, like when you move home. It's something I will have to do eventually and is looking to be a huge faff on an already stressful day of moving house. I'm looking for a specialist aquarium mover who will do this, which would be in the region of 200 to 300 quid. I think that might be an optimistic price tag, depending on where you are. Would be good to get your thoughts on the process, what you'd recommend, how easy it is, what tips you'd give, etc. Let's say the scenario is a tank under 200 litres with fish and corals and the intention of keeping the tank running in the new house and no thoughts to upgrade. You must have moved tanks before. You've moved the wife, but I think that was probably empty.
Yeah, most of the times it's been a case of I've shut down and restarted, but there has been occasions where, like, I did do a tank restart with Nick Chan years ago. We went to this beautiful house in the country, and we did a full tank restart. So it was literally like we just got an IBC type container and put all the fish in and stuff like that, and then cleaned everything off, put all the new rock in and blah blah blah, and then everything that we needed to move back, like say biomedia and stuff like that, we obviously made sure it stayed wet, kept it in some sort of container and stuff, and then moved it all back. So if it comes to moving house, that's what I would probably do, is go to the pound shop. And up here, we've got shops all over the place that sell those. Those plastic containers with lids, like the storage containers? You can get them quite big. You can get quite 100-litre ones. Go to the shop, grab one of them, fill it up with your tank water, get your fish in there. Obviously, if you've got a lot of fish, maybe spread them out over a few containers just so that, their excretions are not going to have them sat in ammonia for ages. And then, get it all drained out. Keep everything wet that you can keep wet. Move, and then when you get to your new house, fill it all back up again. And then if you do upgrade and you do go bigger, then it's the case of you're gonna have a big water change basically on your tank, which could cause you a bit of chaos. Do you know what I mean? If it's too big. So because obviously you're gonna really bring down your nutrients and stuff like that. If you've gone from a 100-litre tank to a 500-litre tank, you're adding an extra 400 litres there, so you're really diluting whatever you've got already. So it's just being mindful. Do you know what I mean? In my opinion, it's just keep everything wet that you can keep wet, and then do it quick. Don't hang about. Be prepared.
He makes it sound so easy. It will be one of the most stressful days of your life. Is the honest answer to that question?
It will be. It will stress you out, but if you plan it out and get ready before you do it and be methodical with it, be linear with it, you'll be fine.
I have a different approach to that. Because I did this when I moved into this house about 7 years ago. I had a nano tank about the size of the cage, 100 litres ish, something like that. And I thought I had a van, and the plan was a big long wheelbase Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. And the plan was, I've got the whole van just to move the tank. Tiny little tank, no problem. I filled that entire bloody thing up with bags and everything. And the day of moving that was just so unbelievably stressful. If I'd it was not worth it. If I had my time again, what I would have done is shut it down completely. Maybe if you want to keep the tank, then just move the tank as a piece of furniture, or sell it and buy a new tank or whatever, and start again, an opportunity, because you always make mistakes, don't you? And if you've had a tank running 5 years, maybe that's different. But if it's only been sort of 6 months, a year, something like that, start afresh and then go again. It was unbelievably stressful, and you'll find people who've done it. So it's better to ask people who've been successful with it. But from my own experience, it was the worst day of my life. I hated it. It was horrible.
I agree. It was. I moved a 1,000-litre full SPS tank, and it was one of the. I started, I think, at 6 a.m, and I moved the tank, and at 6 a.m, I was still up dealing with it the next day. So the entire 24 hours to move this tank. It was a tough day, is what I'll say. So yeah, if you can shut it down, by all means. But if you're more sentimental, because Alex has basically no soul and he doesn't feel anything for his fish. So if you actually want to keep your fish, it's worth the hassle, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the thing is like if you do have plans to move it in the first place, there's a reason in there. You know what I mean? Like, you may have, like you said, if you have been, even if you're a year in, that first year is the biggest pain in the bum that you're going to experience. Once that year and a half is over, smooth sailing pretty much from there on out. All of the crappy bits are done. So then for you to move house and restart that clock, nah, I'd rather have that stress for a day. But like I said, is when it comes down to it, if you've got to try and not do it on the same day that you're actually moving all of your furniture and everything else as well. So like if you try to do a full moving day in one day, fish tank as well as all of your furniture and all that, you're going to lose your hair. Definitely. You are going to be stressed. But if you try and do it where if you can, move the tank one day and then move your furniture another, then, you can sort of like put it on a linear plane where you go, right, fish out, rock out, because that'll make it be easier to catch the fish. So get your rock out. If you've got corals on it, obviously try your best to make sure that, it's positioned in the container or whatever, so it's not going to fall and break your coral. It will, no doubt, you will break some, especially if you've got like SPS. You will break some, but you got frags, you know what I mean? Positive from a negative and all that. And then, get all the rock out and then catch your fish, get them in containers, blah, 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 etc. Your fish, the temperature will drop in the water container. You can choose to try and heat the containers while you're waiting, while you're doing your things. But, you can get down to like 22 degrees with a fishing. It's not going to be the end of the world as long as when they go back to temperature, you don't go and just throw some kettle water in or something like that. Do you know what I mean? But I think it's all good saying it. Do you know what I mean? Thinking about it, but I think that's something that I've really, really learned coming back to the hobby now is patience and consistency. These two things are like my mantra now because they wasn't previously. So just having the patience, the consistency, the maturity to just sort of like go, right, I'm moving house. So I need to be prepared weeks in advance. I need to go out and buy the water containers. I need to have more than I think I'm going to need just in case, because you just never know. There's always that, I don't know, something's going to happen. Have more containers than you need and then have a plan. Wake up at whatever time you're waking up and the first job is, right, pack all the equipment away. Next job, get the corals out. If you're taking them off the rock, put them in a container. If you're not, try your best to situate them. Get the fish out. If you're going to keep your sand, scoop your sand, get that in a bag or something, blah, blah, blah. Drain out as much water as you can. Keep as much of that as you can, just so that you're not changing the water parameters too much. Go.
So actually, that's one thing. When I've moved tanks in a room before, I've done the maths on it. I've been like, right, I need 200 litres, let's say, and I've got 100 litres in my existing tank. For the sake of argument, I'm going to keep 50 litres of the existing tank. So I'm like, right, I need 150 litres of new water. And then when it comes to it, somehow you're completely wrong and you end up needing a lot more. So if you can get more spare water, that's very handy. But
so that's what I mean, because at the end of the day, if you don't use it, you can save it and you use it for water changes. Water's relatively inexpensive. Well, salt. Oh, there's another one. Salt. Oh my God. Salt was £50 a tub.
55, I remember.
Yeah, £55 a tub. And what is the Tropic Marine Pro Salt now? It's over £100.
85. I think it's
for
about
the
85.
for the big tub.
25 kilos. Yeah.
Anyway, I distracted myself there.
Yeah.
There's the ADHD.
I was going to ask actually. So obviously, I'm assuming that question's been covered now, has it?
So he's in the chat. He's saying I've heard you shouldn't keep sand. I wouldn't keep sand personally. No, get rid of it because if you stir up and you get an ammonia spike, it's major trouble. And also he said, I assume I need to heat and keep flow in the tubs with fishing coral. Depends how far you're moving, because when you buy a fish or a coral from a shop, it might take you an hour to get home. So if you're only moving for an hour or whatever, that's fine. And then when you get to the other end, then put them in a tub with oxygen, with something to move the water, and then heat it up. Yeah, but if it's just moving even for an hour or 2 hours or whatever, I wouldn't, because that was one thing I found, was that keeping the water in a tub, it just slops everywhere. So even if you've got a tight lid on, it doesn't matter. So you want to put it in like sealed buckets. Yeah, that's true. That's actually true. But yes,
I would keep the sand though. Me personally, I know obviously depending on the age of the tank and how you've maintained the sand, obviously like you said, can be a real problem if you stir it all up. But it's one of the biggest biofilters in your tank. If you've got sand, so removing that, like what Ryan was saying is you're going to make the new tank quite sterile, which is going to cause potential issues. So, like I said, if your tank is filthy and it's going to cause you more problems moving the sand than it is that you're going to get the benefit of moving the sand, then yeah, bin it off. But like I said, is the sand, if you use it, is one of the biggest biofilters in your tank, and it's got so much beneficial bacteria in there. To throw that all away, there's there's potential for ammonia spikes anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. To be fair, I went to Yorkshire Reef and did a tank tour of one of their tanks there. It's an amazing tank if you ever get the chance to go over there. And they swapped that tank over, and they kept the sand. They cleaned it. They spent about 2 hours cleaning it, but they completely cleaned the sand in salt water, and then moved it into the new tank. So then they didn't have any issues with with ammonia spikes, and they had to carry over all that the good stuff. So
yeah, well, that's amazing. Nothing's really changing, is it? When obviously, like you said, if you go bigger, then you are going to dilute your nitrates, your phosphates, etc. But if you're moving
to the same tank,
from the same tank, nothing's going to change. So your fish and coral shouldn't they'll sulk a little bit, but they should be fine. But if it goes drastic and you do put brand spanking new water in and you do change the sand, it's basically a new tank to the coral. it's like, what are you doing?
It's interesting because we have 3 experienced people in the hobby here, and there are different opinions from everyone. If you see what I mean.
Well, I think that's what's great about this hobby is there is more one way to skin a cat. You know what I mean? And the foundations are there. Some things just have to happen. You do have to go through your nitrogen cycle. But again, even that, there's loads of different ways to do that nowadays. I remember when I first ever started, ATM colony became a thing. And that was absolutely blasted. That was snake oil. That was just, oh God, that was the devil, that product. When it first come out, it was the devil. Don't use this, it's going to kill your tank, blah, 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 blah. Now it's standard. Do you know what I mean? Now it's 9 out of 10 people when they're starting a tank will do a bacteria in a bottle. They won't, even if they do it fishless, they'll still dose ammonia and use bacteria in a bottle. So, but 10 years ago, oh my God, I used to go online, Facebook groups on purpose and show people that I'm starting a tank with ATM colony because I wanted to get a rise out of people. I was back in the day when I could handle it.
That was what I wanted to ask, actually. So we've covered fish and coral prices and things like that have changed. And you've mentioned about some of the equipment. What methodology, what methods have you noticed that have changed? So back when you were doing it, I'm assuming it was, I feel like you were one of the first people to start using the bacteria fish cycling sort of, I wouldn't say you're the first person, but you were pushing it all the time on YouTube. That's what you did. Now I remember you doing it thinking, I ain't doing that. It feels wrong to me, because at the time it was like you just didn't do that. Whereas now I would happily start a tank. To be fair, going forward, actually, I would only ever start a tank with live rock, just because of the hassle of other things that
But sorry to interrupt you, but on the live rock side of things, is what's live rock nowadays? Where's because obviously live rock, if it's your live rock, do you know what I mean? Then I get it. If it's come from one of your old systems or whatever, and you're starting everywhere else. But there isn't really nowadays any true live rock, is there? There's no live rock like it used to be back before my time, where it came from the sea. Do you know what I mean?
You can still get it, but it's not
very
not a lot. it's very expensive, and a lot of shops don't keep it. So
so that's what I
much
mean.
harder to
So
get.
realistically, it's something that only probably like a very small section of people now that can use live rock, like proper live rock, if you know what I mean, as it is tradition. Do you know what I mean? Whereas most live rock nowadays has either been sat in a bin in somebody's fish shop that has either just broken down its own crap and, you know, become bacterial content in a bin, or they've added bacteria in a bottle, so to speak.
So that's what every tank, the last 4 or 5 tanks I've set up, I've done bacteria in a bottle, but I also carry over some live rock from an existing tank or a previous tank, or I've bought in a local fish shop, and that is the way I personally do it now. I don't do all live rock. I like to have a nice dry aquascape because it's easier to make it, but I like to have some live rock to carry over, which because then your tank is basically cycled. And there's someone in the chat, and because of this, I know why I can't post the comments now, and it won't happen again because I know how to fix it. But I can't post the comment. But it's from Zachary Leahy. He says in the US they have Tampa Bay saltwater. Have you guys heard of them?
Yeah.
So you can buy rock. They literally have it in Florida in the sea. They pull rock out, so it's and sand as well. So it's seeded with ocean bacteria basically. And the only thing with that, I saw BRS did a bit on that, and they had a because you get hitchhikers, of course, like so you might get uptage or whatever. But with one lot that Ryan from BRS got, he had an octopus as a hitchhiker.
I remember
so he started
that.
eating all his fish. And
that's what I mean. I think that was very much my mentality. So to answer your question, Ryan, is when I first got into the hobby, I was very much dead against anything pre-live. Do you know what I mean? Just because of the unknowns. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, are you going to be bringing hitchhikers in? Are you going to be bringing parasites in, etc.? So it was very much sterile environment straight from the outset, because then you know what you're getting. But then when I sort of like, again, the hindsight thing, you look at it is that becomes null and void the moment you buy a coral. That becomes null and void the moment you buy a fish, because how many of us truly quarantine our fish? No, you know what I mean? Everyone can probably say, even the people that do, you know, of that percentage of people that do, probably don't do it as they're supposed to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
maybe they do, but you know,
no. So 95% of people don't quarantine in this hobby. Yeah,
that's what I mean. So we all roll the dice a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I think that's the excitement. Do you know what I mean? Like, ooh, what's going to happen?
Even that, I said, I'm not sure how long you've been away. For is it 6 years you're away? Is that right?
About 4.5, nearly 5 years. Yeah.
Quarantine wasn't as popular then as it is now. Definitely, I would say. I don't remember anyone. I would say ICP probably wasn't as big back then. Would you agree?
It had so Triton had just become quite popular. I was using Triton, and Triton was the choice. So ICPing was, you know, like becoming a thing, but it was only Triton. And then I think literally in the last couple of months of me being around, what's the other one called? I forget what the other one's called. There's another ICP.
Reef Elements.
No.
Fauna Marine.
No, Fauna Marine started doing them as well. But no, there was another one before them. I forget anyway. Don't matter. But yeah, no, it wasn't really a thing. No.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things.
What else have you noticed, basically, that is just these things are making the hobby easier if you think about it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Aquarium computers, for example. You know, the Alcatronic had just become a thing. Yeah. And it was pretty much anybody that bought it was like beta testing it, so to speak. You know, it was just a thing. And then all that type of stuff, all aquarium computers and stuff were just really becoming a bit more popular, because we had one, didn't we? We had the GHL Profilux. Yeah. We had the GFit, so that was the stuff. But then from then until now, I think this is the biggest thing, and this is my ADHD brain going off on one as usual. Earlier when I was talking about the pond and I was saying how I've adopted the pond, that's the biggest change I've noticed in the hobby now, is the change from the equipment focused filtration to the biological focused filtration. You know, it seems to be a lot more accepted and followed, filtering with bacteria rather than loads of equipment and bells and whistles and stuff. So, you know, obviously nowadays, so we had the Brightwell blocks come out, and then we had the Max Spec blocks and stuff like that, biohome media and stuff, but nobody really used it. It was still very much a type of thing. But then the minimal aquascape was starting to find motion just before I left. So obviously the more that took motion, I'm guessing the shift started focusing more on these biological medias rather than live rock, rather than actual using your display tank as a filter. You're actually using the sump more as a biological filter. So I think now, you know, that's where it looks to me from my outside looking in perspective, the focus has definitely shifted towards that.
Yeah,
it's funny that you talk about that as being a specific thing that people thought about. So I made a video about 4 years ago, how to set up a saltwater tank for 182 quid, and there was a filter in it. It was a little tropical filter, and it had carbon in it, so it activated carbon. So there was no filter basically, and the filtration in that tank was the rock and the sand. And there was this one guy who I've since blocked from the channel because he's, you know, sometimes they'll comment on a video and then they'll comment on all of your other videos and like progressively nastier. And he was absolutely adamant that I was an absolute idiot. You can't run a tank without any filtration. This is so
Is this why you don't get my messages anymore?
Yeah. But like absolutely adamant, you must have a skimmer or must have some kind of filtration. It's like, you actually don't. So the Fluval Evo I ran for about 2 years, and there was filtration was water changes. So, but it's interesting that was kind of such a heavy thing before, was from the equipment to moving away from that.
Yeah, I think obviously the industry really sort of like impacts what we do. Do you know what I mean? As in like the brands impact what we do. So, you know, obviously the lighting and everything, they want to sell you this next great new light and everything else. And obviously a lot of us, we just take what people tell us as gospel because we don't truly understand, because a reef tank is a complicated thing. Do you know what I mean? You know, the chemistry that goes into it, you know, the biology that goes into it, you know, stuff like that. I didn't get a single GCSE, me, so for being expecting me to understand chemistry and biology, do you know what I mean? It's a big ask. So when somebody says this is how you should do something, then you sort of like go, well, I don't really have the understanding behind me to argue with you. So, okay. Do you know what I mean? So I think like, oh God, I've done it again. I've gone off on one. So obviously, like you have that impact, but I think nowadays, like with the amount of stuff that's available, the information that's available, and the way that the information is delivered nowadays, it's not in a textbook anymore. It's not on a multi-page forum. You know, you can go on a video and you can learn that way nowadays. And quite a lot of people that you are watching, you know, they're on the money quite a lot of the time. Do you know what I mean? You know, some are not, but then that's where you have to do a little bit as a reefer. You have to, you know, be able to say this information makes sense, this doesn't. Do you know what I mean? I like this person and I'm going to follow what they do, but don't mix and match. Do you know what I mean? Because we've got 3 people here who've been doing it for a long time, and we've had a couple of questions where not one of us have agreed. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, if I tell you something and he tells you something and he tells you something, and then you're just confused. Do you know what I mean? You don't know what to do if you don't know what to do. So it's better to just, if you go to a local fish shop and they're the people that give you the information, stick with it. You know what I mean? Until you're at a level where you can ask questions, do you know, where you can sort of like
understand what you're doing wrong and
understand it. As a beginner, you know, it's like when anybody ever contacts me and they say, how do I do this? It's sort of like, how do I say it? I was going to swear again then. I'm not horrible, but I tend to not sort of like give anybody straight answers when they message me, because it's like, I want people to learn. I don't want to just give everybody a template or a cookie cutter. There you go.
Yeah,
That's your tank.
yeah.
Go do it. Because then all that happens is when a problem arises, they don't know what to do because they've not understood how they got there in the first place. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what's great about this hobby is you're always learning every day. Like I'm 10, what am I in now? 12 years or something into the hobby, bearing in mind, apart from a break. But, I feel like a brand new hobbyist again. The stuff, the innovations, the changes, the focuses, how bacteria is now more prevalent and understood. I would have loved to have been there with you two when you went to that TMC event, because Jamie Craigs is like he's like my mecca. Because oh God, the guy just like, when I listen to him, because although he's like a scientist and he's doing what he's doing, he can explain it in a way where you're not sort of like a rabbit in the headlights going, do you know what I mean? What you're saying, he explains it in a way you go, do you know what? I actually understand what you're talking about. Do you know what I mean?
Then you are a smarter man than me. I got stuck in the middle between him and another scientist, and I got like every third word probably.
I think when you're in that situation where you're between two scientists, then scientists are going to talk like scientists, but when he's talking to you direct, he knows how to dumb it down. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think, and I think actually it was a video that I've just watched on that Parker's Reef channel, the Sydney Reefer, and he's a scientist, or he's in university or something at the moment, and he's doing that side of the hobby, and he was saying that how the hobby really helps the conservation side of things, and how the conservation side of things also really helps the hobby. You know what I mean? How they both just come hand in hand, and the conservation side, or the scientific side, is taking things that have been done by hobbyists and implementing them into like the real world, so to speak, and making these leaps and bounds. I think, like, you look at when I was around last, I think it was Aquarium Connections, obviously took on Triton, but they're very deep in the whole, understanding the hobby, the whole other side, not the hobby, the actual, the world side of
the
things.
reefs,
the reef side of things. And, when I spoke to Vince back in the day, it was like, just the information that you get, you're just like, there's some really clever people in this industry. There's so many really informed people, and you can just come out just with a wealth of knowledge. Do you know what I mean? It's great. And like I said, you could be speaking to somebody who is a multi-millionaire who's blah, 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 blah. But when you're both in that fish shop, you're equal. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you've got a tenner in the bank or $1 million in the bank. It doesn't matter if you're a CEO of flipping Pepsi Max or you're a bus driver. In that fish shop setting, you're equals. And it's mint. Do you know what I mean? That's what I love. I just think it's great. So I'm just so glad to be back into it, really.
A couple of other things. Cracking open your sponsor Coke. There are other things that have changed.
I didn't do that right, did I? Hold on a minute. Sponsor me, Pepsi.
yeah. Other things that changed. So one thing I realized a minute ago was that you weren't around. You were out of the hobby when Reef Factory started, and they've gone bankrupt before you got back in, I think. So they came and went before you even.
They just started. They just started. Okay. But yeah, I saw on your live stream that they've just gone bankrupt. Yeah. So that's a shame. It does make sense though that the point that you made is they seem to have a full deck of cards too quick. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And maybe that's what caused it. Who knows? Do you know what I mean? You don't know what goes on behind the scenes. There's all sorts of stuff. Yeah. It could just be the simple case of just one person, like, just run out of money, or you know what I mean? There's all sorts of things that can go in the background that are just simple. Do you know what I mean? And you can always make something out of anything, can't you, really? It's a shame, really, because the way the stuff that they've done, they took, when I was around, like they took products that were huge, like say the Alcatronic, for example, and then they brought out an alkalinity thing, and it was a lot smaller.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh, great, because at the end of the day, the big stuff, you want everything as small as you can, because obviously if you want an alkatronic in my Nano, it's going to be tough, you know what I mean, to get it in there, because there's nowhere to put it. So that means you've got to have it at the side, you've got it out, whereas that one, perfect, it'll fit in, you know what I mean? So smaller stuff is always better if you can have it. I think you mentioned as well about the reef bot, about how big that is, you know what I mean? If that was compacted down, because there's a lot of empty space in that thing, do you know what I mean? Not the big master reef bot thing. I never saw that. That wasn't the thing when I was about, but I had the reef bot. And when you open the side door and you just see all that open space, it's like a PC case for a smartphone. Do you know what I mean? It didn't really make much sense in the size of the thing, but it worked great. Do you know what I mean? So it's one of those. But Reef Factory going was when I saw that, and you think, oh, that's a shame. Do you know what I mean?
I want to go back onto fishing corals in a sec, but is there any, on that point actually, is there any equipment that you've come back to that you've been like, this is revolutionary? Oh my God, how did I live without it before?
No, because I'm not really in that space at the moment of looking at it, because I tend to only look at things when I want them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not really into the hobby in that way. I love like technical stuff and all that, but not until it's on my radar, so to speak, until it's something I want. Then I'll be like, oh, then I'll pop up and go, oh, what's this? And then I'll be going down the rabbit hole of, is there an alternate version? If there is an alternate version, is it better than this? Is it better than that? For example, I've done it recently with tools. When I got this new house, and it was a full renovation job, so I had to do the whole thing. So I was on YouTube learning how to do this, that, and the other. So then I started off with DeWalt tools. Everybody uses DeWalt tools. So then the next thing, I'm thinking, well, is there anything better than this? And then I go down this rabbit hole, and I found out Milwaukee's the best tool, supposedly. So then I'm switching out all my tools for Milwaukee tools, and it's like, I don't need to. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not something that's required. I don't need to do it. And then I'll very much be like that with a reef tank. You know what I mean? It's like, right, lights. What's the best light? What's, thingy? But the thing with aquarium lighting is it's quite similar, really, especially the LEDs. 500 nanometer LED is a 500 nanometer LED. Do you know what I mean? Well, that's the case to argue. I shouldn't have said that out loud. But in my mind, it is. Obviously, it could be manufactured differently. Do you know what I mean? One might last longer than the other or whatever. Yeah. But so it comes really down to, when you're buying an LED light, it comes down to how they've been situated in the light. You know what I mean? The spread and the shimmer and how the app works, for example. That's what makes the decisions. And that's when I, like, oh, this is the one I'll choose over this or this or this. And then finally, it's price, isn't it? You know what I mean? Because everything's expensive. You know what I mean? That's the perfect summary. Those are the only things that matter. It's like, if you want something cheap, you'll be able to get something that'll do the same job. It's just, it won't have a sexy app, or it won't look as nice over your tank or whatever. But, do you remember the black boxes, the unbranded black boxes? I don't know if they're still a thing. The aquarium black boxes, and you just had turny dials to control the LEDs. One sort of like did the power and whatever, you know what I mean? You could just turn them up. But I can't remember what they were called, but like, you did have
Viper Spectra was one, I think.
One guy had one, but this one did have a brand. It was on your video. He had a lovely peninsula in his bedroom and a bedside
Reef, Evergrow. I had an Evergrow. Yeah.
Evergrow,
they were like, they were quite expensive for a black box though. They were cheaper than like a Radion. But they were like the king of black boxes. But they were brilliant. Yeah. They were really good.
Yeah. So, but that's what I mean. So I know a lot of people that went down the Evergrow route, because they wanted Radions, but it was just that little bit out of touch. Do you know what I mean? It's just a little bit too far. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it's like in it. And it's like life in it with this hobby is there's loads of things that you want, but I want a Ferrari. But it's not happening, and that's sort of like what Radions are for some people. If you do it that way, they're good, they're going to do the job, but it's just, I just can't afford it.
No, well, you buy a Ford Fiesta and it will do the same job. It will get you to where you need to go. So, But we need to move away from lights quickly because Ryan is going to pass out if we're not careful. So that's my
I have
fault.
a very short attention span when it comes to lights. Usually it's just Alex talking about them, not you as well.
I know this would be dangerous if we kicked off. I wanted to talk about fishing coral types. So have you come back and gone into a shop and you've been like, never seen that before, or where have all these gone, or all this sort of stuff? Anything that you've noticed that's different?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, is the Paloensis, for example, the Paloensis montiporas, they're a lot more prevalent to me. You know, I don't think I ever, unless it was in some special tank, saw a Paloensis, any type, in a tank and especially not in a shop for sale. You know what I mean? If you was going to get one, it would have to come from somebody who's like big in the game, like a Peter Parry, for example, or something like that. You know, somebody who's been in the game forever and they've got every mint coral and they just top it, everything that they do. So yeah, the Paloensis is one, and then obviously, like I said about the Raja Rampage, now that is quite prevalent. You know, whereas that was just an American thing. It was the Jason Fox Raja Rampage. That was the one. You know what I mean? No, you didn't know anything else about a Raja Rampage other than the Jason Fox version. Gold torches were just sort of like coming in when I was going out.
You are lucky you missed that phase. They went crazy. Like the cost of them like skyrocketed and then it's come back down again.
I think we was talking, and this might be me elaborating a little bit, but I'm sure it was like, you're getting something silly like £500 a head. The gold torches. What was they called? I think one of them still got the name. Torch? No.
Holy Grail.
Holy Grail. That's the one. The Holy Grail was the one. And that name, it just seemed to just warrant a massive price. Yeah. And then I've seen like they're about 120-ish now for a head, which is still crazy for a torch. Do you know what I mean? Especially considering out of all of the euphyllias, they're the most, and I am going to swear now because I can't think of a better word. They're the most dickish one. And it's not technically a euphilia anymore, is it?
No, I was going to say it's not.
Yeah, it's not a euphilia anymore. That's probably why.
I think the other thing with the Holy Grail torches is Holy Grail torch, because everyone was like, oh, a Holy Grail torch is worth £1,000. Everything that looked remotely different. So I typed in Holy Grail torch and you get like 30 different types.
Yeah.
And only one of those was like, I think that is what I consider to be a Holy Grail torch. All the others, they're like totally different, but people, you can get away with charging more money for them.
Yeah.
If you give it that name.
Well, this is the thing. And I think I had a conversation with Ryan about this when I first come back to the hobby. When I came back to the hobby, everything had a name. Everything had a name. Like, just these, what were just green zoas are now called bleeding apple backflip zoas. Or, you know what I mean? Since I've come back, it's very rare that you'll see something that doesn't have some sort of crazy name. People were doing it when I was around last, but, nobody really had the lineage behind them to be able to name something. So it tended to just be people like Jason Fox, who could name. So it'd be the Jason Fox Raja Rampage. It was only people like that, the worldwide corals, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? That was the only named corals. Yep. So they was collector's pieces in it. But now, they don't even have like a such and such a person. It's just, this is.
But it got to the point where you had to, everybody did it, so you have to do it. I remember I don't know how long it was, not that long, but there was a time on your website, Ryan, when you would have PR, like Prestige Reef.
Oh, I did that. I did that like for like a week.
But it was like a PR bubblegum Monty, and it was like, but that's because it suddenly got to the point where everybody was like, well, I'm going to name a coral then, and this is my brand or whatever. And it just it was that died back off a bit, but it's interesting that took off a lot in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that. It does seem like that way to me, where just I come back and it's like, oh, this is this and this is that and this is the other. It's like, but that was just a Zoa when I was here last. Like it didn't have a name. Now it does.
You know how you said that like the Kung Pao Montipora has significantly dropped in price? Yeah. I'm interested. does that make it less desirable to you? Because originally it was like, oh, it's £200 for a frag, and people are like, oh, I really want this. But now that you've come away and it's only £20 a frag, is that now less desirable than it was before? Because that is how people feel about it. But I wasn't sure if you have that feeling because you still remember wanting it when it was expensive. Do you see what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, yeah. But I think that's a mentality change for me as well. Is the corals that I want now are not necessarily, branded, so to speak. I still want the compound. It's just with my tank currently, I can't think of where it would go. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I haven't got one, but I do know that, like my local shop, iReef, they've got them. Do you know what I mean? And then, they're not crazy money, so I could just go and get one now. Same with because I got the Raja Rampage from iReef. I walked in, I was like, what? It's just there. There's loads of them. What's this? And it's like, how much is it? And it was like £40. I'm like, what? I'd probably say on my Raja Rampage, I'm sure it might have been more than this, but I think I spent about £150 on a frag about that big. It might have been more. Do you remember when I got the black storms? When the storms first came to this country as well?
Yeah.
They were like 800 quid or something, weren't they?
And I think I paid about £5. Oh, I'm still there.
You're back. You're back. Yeah, you're back.
We didn't hear how much you said though.
Yeah, the storms. I'm sure I paid about 500 quid for the storms.
Yeah. I remember.
Do you know what I mean?
My first piece of grafted Montipora came from Alpenreef, and I paid £250 for it. They now sell for like £20. But that's what happened.
The other part of that is it's not just the price, because the first time I bought a Gold Rush Monty, they suddenly came out of nowhere. It was again size of a 50p coin, and it was 150 quid, same as your Kung Pao, Michael. And it was, but I saw it in a shop, and it was the only one there. And you go into 10 other shops, you won't see it. Whereas now there'll be 15 in a row. So part of it was I need to buy it now, otherwise I might not get the chance for 6 months or whatever. So that changed as well, because as soon as corals get out there, people grow them, because growing corals is actually easy for the most part.
It's
I think that's the sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say everyone's doing it now, pretty everyone, and that's the thing. Like people, but that book came across in the wrong way. People don't kill corals like they used to. It's just true. Like, so
I will prove you wrong.
I really believe, if you go back like 30 years, people killed corals all the time, and then they had to replace them and things like that. But like people are cultivating them in their houses. You don't need a farm like I have. Like anyone can do it, and then they go, "Oh, I'm just gonna start to pay for the hobby a little bit. I'll just cut a little bit off." And then it gets out there more and more, and that's why the cost of these corals have come down. But the cost of some corals has gone up, like the scollies, for example, which are now aquacultured, and they're the same price, but where you would have a big one before, it's now tiny.
Well, that was the thing. So like a bleeding apple scolly, which was this big, maybe, about that size, would have been about 150, 200 quid. Maybe something like that. What are these little things like? What are they? Are they the same price?
Between 200 and 250. Yeah,
that's what I mean. It's so a lot has changed. It's a bit like chocolate bars. You're paying the same price, but you're getting a lot less. Do you know what I mean? But it is interesting. But I think like what you just said there about people are killing things less, and I think that's because that's how good this industry is just how it just keeps evolving. It doesn't. Certain parts does. Do you know what I mean? Like, the equipment, the biological side, all this type of stuff, it's just making it easier to be a reefer. It's making it easier to put your tank on autopilot. And like I said, the information availability is making it a lot easier for you to maintain alkalinity, your calcium, your magnesium, etc. And understanding the correlations between them, how this works with this, and how magnesium acts as like the barrier keeping them apart, and all these types of information that you just didn't have. So you didn't understand why stuff was going wrong because you don't understand what's going on in the first place. But now there's so many videos out there where They really break it down into real layman's terms, and you can just walk away and be like full of knowledge and implement that into your tank. And like you said, kill things less. Do you know what I mean? Aquapora,
forget it.
They're a different beast. You can be an absolute scientist with them things, and they'll still do you in. I bet Jamie Craig still has to flip in, cry a couple of days when an Aquapora just goes, "See you later, mate."
He does. There was an issue. There was actually an issue at the museum, I think about a year and a half ago, where they got carbon and it killed loads of stuff. So it's exactly the same.
I've just realised we did that in the news. I think what was the Triton, their ICP test, they discovered a load of tanks had heavy metals or something in it, and they traced it back to a certain brand of activated carbon. I bet that was it.
I don't know what brand it was though.
I can't remember.
It never seemed to. Most things in this hobby get out some way or another. It never got out. Like what happened.
I can't remember if we talked about it, but if we knew. But yeah, anyway, so actually, we've gone through. I had a list of stuff that I want to talk about, stuff that's changed, and we've done it.
Good.
Ryan, is there anything else on your list?
No, I've covered pretty much everything. Pretty much everything has been covered.
And Mike, is there anything else before? Because we've still got the news to do.
All right, do the news then. I want to know what the news is. This is how I learn.
Here we go. You're part of the news. So, Michael, what's been going on in the last 7 weeks in the news? What have you got for us?
I came back. That's all that matters.
Came back.
There's your news.
There's actually, I've got another question for you in a minute, but we'll come back to that. So the first thing, let me just move that across to the other side. First thing in the news is, and this is something that me and Ryan talked to a guy, Scottish Reefer, on Instagram. We talked to him about this at the TMC event. If you've seen those things where you buy a ticket for 10 quid and you might win an Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Well, that is now coming to the reefing world. So it's called the aquariumgiveaway.co.uk. This is the website. It's launched, I think, in the last couple of days. And there are various things. So you can buy tickets for all of these stuff you want. So you can buy for a Vortec MP40, they're 420 quid. You can get it for £1. It does. He's not selling.
If you win,
it's if you win. But this. So there's other things he's got on there. AI Prime HD, £100 in cash, 50p. That seems like a good deal. A load of Hannah test kits, a fish tank, all these sorts of things. So this has launched. I think it's an interesting idea. I don't like those sorts of things. I've never bought a ticket for a Ferrari or whatever for a tenner. I just think that you're not gonna win it. These seem like a much better prospect, a better chance of winning it, much better odds, yeah. But I think it's an interesting one, and it gives you the chance to buy a whole fish tank for £1, potentially, or a light, or a power head, or whatever. But anyway, it's launched. It's theaquariumgiveaway.co.uk, and you can go and check it out, and you might get yourself a bargain.
He's a
I
genuine.
think now's the time to do it as well, isn't it? Yeah. Now's the time because if you think about it, if you was to do the lottery, it's 1,000,000 to 1 or whatever it is chance of winning. But with this app, how many people are on it? If there's 1,000 people on it, it's 1,000 to 1. Yeah.
Well, this was one of the things we talked to him about this, and I hope for his sake that he's changed this. But I hope for the people who are watching and thinking about signing up that he hasn't changed it. He was there was no minimum. So like normally on these things, like with the Ferrari, if that company doesn't make £100,000 on ticket sales, you just get your money back. That's it. On this, he didn't have that. So there's no minimum. So it could be that 10 people enter, and then you win.
I'll wait until the end, and I'll go like,
you should have told me about all of this before we did the live stream. Do you know what I mean? This could have been for your members. This could have been a sneaky one. But this is what people are paying for.
I don't know if he's changed that, but either way, the one thing, he was a really nice guy, wasn't he? I think it's what you were just about to say, Ryan.
Yeah, it was. that was one of the things I took away from the TMC event, when you get to meet other people. And I actually, to be fair, I'd only met him once before, briefly at Aqua, but we had a beer. Well, I didn't have a beer. I was drinking wine at the time. So, and that's when you get to know people. And he was just genuinely really nice. And and I hope it does well for him.
Bit entrepreneurial. I'm surprised that no one's done it before, actually, to be fair. So,
well, I didn't know it was him specifically that was doing, because I saw on his, I think it was Instagram or TikTok, I saw the advertisement that he'd done. You know, he had the table of everything in front of him. So I thought it was just something that he was putting on the website. So is it his specific? Is it his website?
It's his website. Yeah.
The website has a logo. It has his logo on it. So
I haven't been. I just saw the Instagram of it. So I just thought, oh, right, great.
Anyone who tries anything is more than what most people do. So I wish the best of luck for him.
Well, the thing is if it's his, then I'll do it, because, like you said, when it comes to everybody on here, you know, you got to try and support everybody you can. And the thing is this is a winner chicken dinner situation, because you pay £1, you win, belly. You know what I mean? Like you said, you've just got a fish tank for £1 or an MP40 for £1. Perfect. If you don't win, you've just supported, you know, somebody, you know, who's doing the exact same thing we're doing. You know,
and it's £1.
Enjoying the hobby and, you know, trying to get something out of it. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'll have a go with that.
Yeah.
I'm not going on that Prestige Reef auction site though. I don't like the sound.
That's a scam. Yeah.
Do you know what? And do you know what the greatest thing is? We've done this full live stream so far, and he's not mentioned it once.
That's because it's not ready yet. It's not ready.
It's normally the first 20 minutes of every live stream, that website.
It's this close to being ready, but it's not ready yet. So I said to Alex Alex is like pushing it, going, when's it going to be ready? I spoke to you a couple of days ago, didn't I? And I just said, look, there is no point in just releasing it unless it's absolutely perfect, because people will give it one chance and they'll go, this is either easy to use or it's not easy to use. And that's it. So if I got to keep postponing it, then I'm not even going to give a start date yet. But it's definitely coming, and it's almost ready. So
I think it'll be good, because like you said, because it's an auction site as well. Like you were saying about the minimums and stuff.
Yeah.
But depending on what the prices are and stuff like that, it'll probably be a win. You know what I mean? Like I said, I've never used eBay. I'm not a big eBay person, because I'm one of those where I've become Amazon indoctrinated. I'm so used to this same day, next day delivery now. If I've got to wait 2 days, I'm not having it. I'm not interested. Do you know what I mean? I've just recently started using Charterhouse's website, you know, for me bits and bobs, because obviously Charterhouse is the same thing. They've always got pretty much everything that you need, and it's like they'll give you the option. It's free if you use like the 2-day shipping. Like 48-hour shipping, right? Fine, it's free, perfect. But then underneath, it's like 24 hours for an extra $5, and you're like, ooh. And I get sucked in so many times. It's like I don't even need the stuff half of the time. I'm just buying it, so I've got it on hand. But then it's because it's there, like, oh, I want it now. I want it right now. It's like you don't need it now, Michael.
That Amazon next day, same day sort of thing, it drives me crazy, because everyone's hooked on it. And there's times I've sold stuff on eBay for like £2 just to get rid of it, basically. And then 3 days later, it hasn't arrived, and people are messaging me, where is it? It's like, mate, it's cost you £2. It'll get there when it gets there. If it takes 5 days, that's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I'm so indoctrinated. I've never really used eBay because I don't want to wait. But eBay has loads of great stuff. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those. So I need to reset my mind when it comes to stuff like that. Because when I bought corals from Ryan, I got all my coral shipped, and he was like, right, do you want it on the specific day? Yeah, perfect. I'll have it on that specific day. But then even though I knew it was coming on that specific day, it was a couple of days away. And I'm like, oh, I want it now. But I couldn't have it now because I wasn't in to accept the delivery anyway. You know what I mean? Everything. But I was still like, but I want it now. Do you know what I mean? I need to get out of this, but I need to sort of like slow down.
I've usually forgotten what I've ordered by the time it turns up.
I know.
Yeah.
It's like I open the box. I'm like, what did I order? And it's like a surprise every time I open it.
That's an ADHD thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Midnight buying. Sit there at midnight, can't sleep. The next thing I've got knock on the door in the morning from the Amazon guy. Why are you here? And I'll be shouting to everybody, what have you ordered? And then it's got my name on it, like, what did I order?
I ordered,
I was sleep ordering.
Next piece of news is worm food, Ryan. Worm food.
Exciting.
So this is two little fishes, Julian sprung. So we know it's going to be good. And with things like copper-banded butterflies, they eat worms. Like in the wild, they specifically hunt out and eat worms. But as far as I'm aware, there's no worm foods on the market at the moment. There are no facts here, as we know.
Yeah.
But that is all due to change soon with Julian Sprung's worm bits. So scant on details because there's no release date as yet. But basically, there's worm-based food, and you can see the quite big wormy type things. But presumably, this would be really good for fish like copperband butterfly fish generally, but also it's got a discus on the front, so it's got freshwater application as well. But a different type of food is coming soon. This was at was it Reefapalooza? I think this was at Reefapalooza.
Scroll it back up again onto that picture of the actual worm food. Yeah, that one. Does that look like freeze dried thingy to you? Oh no, hold on.
Mealworms.
What thingy?
Mealworms. That's it. No, it's not that, is it? It's too big. That's like a mixture of all different size things there, doesn't it?
I don't
see that big one. That's a bobbit worm. That one.
Huh? Yeah.
I don't see copper bands eating it. I might be wrong. No, I don't.
The thing is though, if it's a two little fishes thing, you know what I mean? There's not really much stuff that you get from them. That's a miss, is it? You know,
he knows what he's doing. Why don't you think copper bands would go for it? Because it's too big.
It's too big. They're very picky. It doesn't move, and like generally speaking, they only eat things that move at first. They're massive. Like
the size, maybe it's not aimed at copper band. Maybe it's a
I don't
large
think it
angels
is,
or something.
if I'm honest. Yeah, I think
it's got a copper band on the pot.
If it's on the if there's a copper band on the pot, it's aimed at a copper band. You can't. Well, yeah, you can't really do that, can you? You can't.
And copper bands do eat worms, so you can't keep like fan worms with them because they'll try to.
I look forward to trying it but I'd be willing to bet. I have 7 of them. I would be willing to bet that not a single one of them would eat it. But that doesn't mean everything else might not eat it.
Julian,
challenge.
Yeah, Julian, come on, bring it on. Prove me wrong. I've got the perfect test samples for you. But that might not be what it's aimed for. It probably is just has different nutritional value, and it's for larger fish.
Better variety is always good in terms of feeding your fish, and that's something that's a bit different. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of things that have, on the subject of the live stream today, things that have changed in the last 5 years. Aquabiomics. This is, I think, in the last couple of years, and it's only in America at the moment. Yeah. This is the microbiome test. So they test your bacteria, tell you what your bacteria profile is. Don't know if you've seen this, Michael. So they have now brought out a subscription. It's quite pricey, $79 a month. Or you can do a quarterly subscription, which it says $79 for 3 months. I presume that's $79 per month for 3 months, but you can subscribe, so it always comes through, and I think you get notifications and all these sorts of things. So you can now you get it regularly. I'm still struggling to get on board. I think there's probably in years to come, all we'll talk about is bacteria and that sort of stuff. But I still struggle at the moment. All right, you give me my test result. What am I going to do about that? I can't go and buy a strain of bacteria from a shop and add it. And I can't buy something that will kill, but not these specific like Microbacter ACA or whatever. You might be able to buy a random bottle of bacteria, but if it says you're missing these 3 types of bacteria, you can't go and buy those 3 types of bacteria. So
I think like someone like Brightwell Aquatics nowadays, because they've got so many like individual bottles, you know, you can get a bit of variety when it comes. So maybe when they do the results, they might do it in a way where they might give you suggestions. Do you like Triton? Yep. When Triton says, "Oh, you know, you're deficient on this, or you need this," do you know what I mean? Maybe they'll. I've never used. This is the exact first time that I've ever seen it, but you know, like I said, I'm big on the bacteria side of things now. So you know, if they gave you an option to where you could buy it in a bottle.
If you can do it, brilliant. And there was a reef builders video I saw recently where I can't remember where they were, but there's some guy had isolated a certain number of bacteria strains, so he could bottle these bacteria. So if like in a year's time or 6 months time or whatever, it will tell you need to go and buy this, then great, you can do something about it. But at the moment, I think it's still this is still like an early thing, but I think it's growing. And the fact that they're now doing subscriptions, there must mean there's demand for that. So there must be people buying it. And although I'm saying I'm skeptical about what you can do with it, if it was over here, I'd use it. So
you try it.
The path that I'm on, I'd definitely use it. You know, because the thing is like it's like anything. I wouldn't use it on a monthly. I don't see unless something has happened. I don't see what's really going to change because bacteria is not a quick thing, is it? It's not like you dose a bit of alkalinity solution, you can test your alkalinity. With bacteria, you wouldn't. Well, just look at your nitrogen cycle. How long does it take for nothing to happen, for the bacteria to come in existence to start consuming the ammonia? Do you know what I mean? It takes a couple of days. So, you know, I don't see things like that. So I don't see why you'd need it on a monthly basis, especially if your tank's running. You know what I mean? If you're messing about, and
I guess if you've got problems and that sort of thing, then maybe you want to do a few in a row. And but
I think a quarterly one would be all right, or maybe just like one a year, maybe, or something like that. But I definitely use it.
Yeah. Well, ICP tests, I think generally people say once a quarter is a reasonable cadence for it, but even that, I just can't be bothered, to be honest with them. Anyway, next piece of news is rocks, Ryan. You love bloody rocks, don't you?
Almost exciting as light.
Carib Sea have brought out a load of new rock shapes. None of these are massively exciting for me, but there's some different. This one, like the top one, tree shape, kind of looks like a grown out kind of tree, and then there was this one which is for nano tree. So they're just different shapes basically, and extension kit and like bowls and all these sorts of things. Just different shape Carib Sea rock basically. This is not the world's most exciting piece of news, right? But it's a small development.
I like man-made rock.
I do. You know, I've always been somebody that loves the man-made stuff, the pre-shaped stuff. Like I've got it in my aquarium now, and the one I've got now, which is probably going to be similar to that, is each piece is already sort of pre-shaped, but it's got an acrylic rod fixed in. So then each of the plates are just like, you can just plop them around, and if you get a bigger aquascape, they have like color codes on them so that you can put the aquascape together so it looks how it did on the picture. You know what I mean?
I was trying to see on those if they have that acrylic rod. I couldn't see if they do or not. Maybe I would think they probably do, but
you would think so, yeah.
I think so, but I don't know. But but no. So Ryan don't care because he never cares because it's not a fish or a coral. But Michael's excited.
Yeah,
and I think it's a good thing to have.
It's all about the aquascapes, isn't it? At the end of the day, that's the backbone to your tank. You got you don't have a good structure, you don't have a good coral, you don't have a good tank. Do you know that's actually part of my reef update tonight as well? Talking about that.
Or is it?
Because I've rescaped. There you go.
So, don't give away.
No, I'm trying to give everything away. So
he's trying to get the views up.
I'm trying to get the views up, so dude. That's the only reason I'm here.
Well, in which case we can finish the news and go back onto that. So you start when do your videos go up? Basically 9 o'clock Sundays.
No, I don't have a regimen, so I tend to try and stick with Sunday 9 o'clock. That's what I try to stick with, but I'm just not making videos consistently enough at the moment. So that would be the ideal for me is, to stick to some sort of regimen. But the moment I start this is in my own brain, the moment I give myself a time and date, that's when I'll revert back to the old me, and I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's one of those where if a video comes out this week from me, bonus. If it doesn't, is what it is. You know what I mean?
It works for you, you don't work for it, which is the right way to do it.
Exactly, yeah. Because the thing is what I've learned is you're not going to be a millionaire from YouTube. Well, you could be a millionaire from YouTube, but
not in reef keeping.
Well, I don't know. Look at George
Coralfish 12G.
Coralfish 12G. He was, I think he had 200,000 subscribers when I left.
Really?
Now he's a 1.odd million subscriber YouTube channel. He's an absolute beast. Do you know what I mean? So you can do it, but obviously if you was to stick to specifically marine only, doing like what we do, no chance.
1.9 million.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's more like a pet generally rather than reef keeping, but still he came from that and he does a lot of stuff on reef keeping still. So fair play. 1.9 million.
So he does everything, doesn't he? Like freshwater and marine, and you know what I mean.
440 million views.
Crazy.
That's more than me. Can you believe?
So you think if you put all that together and work, I don't know. Do you know what? I don't even know how much YouTube pays nowadays, because it seems like it's gone up compared to, because I think what it used to be when I was around, I think it was something like $1 summer per 1,000 views. That's what it was.
Okay. So I've been a while since I've checked, but I reckon it's about $2 per 1,000 views.
So it's double money. So I need to get working harder. but yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? Where with this hobby, with the thing, you're never going to be like a multimillionaire. So like I said, this has got to work for me, not me work for it, because
100%. You'll enjoy it that way, won't you? So and you won't enjoy it if you're trying to have a every week you've got to be doing the same thing and chasing it.
I'm absolutely loving it now. I really am. I'm just loving being a creator again. My brain's ticking over that way again. You know what I mean? I'll be out and about thinking, ooh, you know what I mean? I can make a video on that, or I can make a video. I could, if I put the camera there. You know what I mean? That's how I'm thinking. Just in a day-to-day life, I might be in Tesco walking around going, ooh. Yeah. That's a nice shot. So yeah, I'm enjoying being at it again. I just got to keep plugging away and just enjoying it. Do you know what I mean? And then I think this was one of the biggest hurdles for me is not being in control. Do you know what I mean? Being on a live stream, not being in control, not having to be my live stream as well. You know what I mean? And seeing how I reacted to that and how I felt, and it's just been another great experience. So I'm here now.
There you go. You've done well.
Nice.
So welcome back.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I want to say thank you to everybody that's been in here as well, because I've literally paid no attention to the chat, and that was one of my main things, to pay attention to the chat. So like, say for example, I think Adam Peacock, I'm sure he was a Friday night live stream regular. I remember that name. I'm sure I do. It's hard for me to remember everybody, but yeah, everybody that's been in here today, thank you so much to sit there and spend your Sunday nights listening to me waffle. You're all better than me. You're all legends. Appreciate that. You got an extra waffle today.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap it up. But it's really good to see you back. It's good to see you enjoying the hobby and enjoying the YouTube and all that sort of stuff. And it's just been good to catch up and have a chat. So,
thank you. And then just one more thing. I don't know if he's here, but Mickey, who does the I forget his company name. He does fish tanks.
MBM aquariums or designs or something.
Yeah. This is just for you, this mate. Still got the trildo. He'll get it.
I think we get it.
Every time we used to go and see him, he goes, "You got the trildo?"
It was family safe till the end.
It's at the end. It's late now. It's almost. It's after 9 o'clock, so I'm all right. We're past the watershed.
Brilliant. All right. Well, cheers for coming, both of you, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
I guess.
See you later.
Bye.
Oh, hang on. I've pressed the wrong button. End stream.